All right, everybody, this is Unit 3.3, Factoring Quadratics when A is 1. All right, and we talk about A, maybe we'll come back to that in a second, okay? So what I want you to do first is do what we did in 3.2. We want to use glasses, we want to use a box if you need to, and find our two binomials, okay? So I'll get you started with A, and then if you could, pause and do the other ones, okay? So here, we'll do glasses. There's not a greatest common factor, so again, we should always check that. It's already in standard form, so that we should check that too, but these are all set up for you. We just need to find something that multiplies to negative 9x squared and adds to, or subtracts, to give us 8x. Okay? So if you're ever stuck, again, we'll just write down factor pairs 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. Those are your only choices. Obviously 3 and 3 can't get you to 8, but we could do 1 and 8, or sorry, 9 and 1. So maybe something like negative 1 plus 9 would give you 8. Or again, if you prefer, you could do 9x minus 1x. That's the same, okay? And if you multiplied, yeah, it'd give you negative 9, okay? So then we could use our box, because now we know all the stuff that we need. Again, we plug that in for the middle term. So we get x squared plus 9x minus 1x. Again, that's the same as 8x, so we didn't change anything. We just broke it in two parts, okay? And then we could use our box. So maybe I'll move that over here. So x squared plus 9x minus 1x minus 9. So greatest common factor, looks like we could take out an x and a negative 1, an x and a 9. So our answer would be x minus 1 and x plus 9. Okay? So why don't you pause and give at least two of these done. Maybe we'll just do B and C, or maybe B and D. We'll do B and D. Okay? So same sort of thing. What multiplies to 6n squared and adds to negative 7n? So here, what multiplies to 6 would be 1 and 6, or 2 and 3. Only way to get to 7 is 1 and 6. And it looks like they both need to be negative. So I think this is one of the first ones we've done in our notes, where we have a negative 2, a negative 1 and a negative 6. So again, it doesn't have to be adds to, we could subtract. Okay, and if we did negative 1x times negative 6x, that does give us a positive 6x, or sorry, n. We're doing n's. Come on. Okay, and then we can substitute that in for the middle term. So n squared minus 1n minus 6n plus 6. And then we can use our box. And we get n squared minus 1n, negative 6n, and 6. Greatest common factor would be n, negative 6, n, negative 1. Our answer would be n minus 1 and n minus 6. Okay? That's probably enough. Let's just stop at that and say, looking at these two, do you notice anything that could make this a little easier? Okay, any patterns that you've noticed that you could find your answer maybe before or earlier, okay? So look at those together. Pause it for a second. Look at them separately and see if you can find anything that they have in common. All right. So hopefully you noticed that whatever the things that multiply or add to are the same numbers. Maybe I should do a different color. Okay, maybe we'll do green. Okay, that adds to is the same as the numbers that are in the binomials. Okay, so here we have negative 1, here we have a negative 1. Here we have a 6, here we have a 6. Okay, so let's look at the other one. Does that apply? we have -1, -1, -6, -6. Okay? So this happens all the time if a is 1. So when we talk about a, again, we talked about standard form for a quadratic, where a is the leading term. So if if a is 1, typically we don't write it there. Like this is 1n squared, this is 1x squared. If there's not a number in front of the first term, then we can use this shortcut. So this can be a lot easier, can help you go a lot quicker. Okay. Let's do some examples. Okay. So here we still have to do the glasses. You still got to find the two things that multiply and add. So multiplies to 10x squared and adds to 7x. Okay. For here, maybe 2 and 5. So 2x times 5x is 10x, and 2x plus 5x is 7x. But now we can just write down our two answers. So this would be x, because that's our variable, and then we have a +2 and a +5 from here. Okay. All right, so that wasn't too bad. Let's try this one. So has to multiply to -32 and adds to 4x. Again, please, if you're ever stuck, write down factor pairs. So that wouldn't give you 4. That can't work. 3 doesn't go into it. We could try 4. Looks like 4 and 8. That could work. So we'd want to maybe do -8 and a +4. Okay. If you have to do like the box, I like to have the x's here. Otherwise people forget and it messes up things. But really, if you're doing the shortcut, you don't need to write the x's. We could just do x minus 8 and x plus 4. All right. All right, so now you've had practice when a is 1. Let's combine what we've learned with the greatest common factor. So we always, please highlight this, always factor out the greatest common factor first. Okay, so looking at a, you would think maybe we can't use the shortcut. That's just because we haven't factored out the 2. So if we factor out a 2, we'd get what? V squared plus 9v plus 20. Now a is 1, and we could use the shortcut. Just make sure that when we're done, we write down our greatest common factor first. And I think it's a great idea to do that. Whenever you take out a greatest common factor, write something like this, and then you can't ever forget. Okay? So then we'd do glasses, and would say needs to multiply, oops, what am I doing? Multiplies by 20, v squared, and adds to 9. Okay? So, So 1 and 20 doesn't work, 2 and 10 doesn't work, 3 doesn't go into 20, 4 and 5, that could work. So we could do 4v and 5v, and we can go straight to our answer. So we do v plus 4 and v plus 5. Okay? All right. This is a common mistake that people have, again, is if all the greatest common factor is just like a leading negative, people will forget it half the time. Okay, so here we have a leading negative. We'd want to factor that out first. Again, when you divide it by a negative, it's just going to change all of its signs. And then we will do glasses. So multiplies to -12x squared and adds or subtracts to give us -4x. So 1 and 12 doesn't work. 2 and 6, that could work. we just need to do -6 and a +2. So now we can just write our answer. So x minus 6, x plus 2. Okay. So C is kind of the same. You just do negative and a 2, but you end up doing the same sort of thing. D, sort of the same sort of thing. We can just take out a, looks like a 4. Okay. The thing though is, let's go over here, is when can we use the shortcut? So on your homework, you're going to have problems that you've seen in 3.1, 2, and 3. So they're all going to be mixed up. So it's important to be able to tell when we can use the shortcut. Alright, so why don't you pause, spend a minute or two looking at these problems and see if you can figure out when we can use the shortcut. Alright, hopefully you paused it, gave it a try. Okay, so let's look at it together now. Can we use the shortcut? Yes. A is 1. Okay. B, no. A is not 1. And we can't factor out a greatest common factor to make it B. Okay. This one, yes, after the greatest common factor of 2. So we can divide, we can factor out a 2 from all of those terms. Okay. D, yes. I think the greatest common factor is 4. Okay. E, so this one's a little tricky because the greatest common factor here is 5. So we can't factor out a 15. Greatest common factor is not 15. So we can't use the shortcut. No shortcut. So here we would need to take out the greatest common factor and then would do glasses. Would have to do like grouping, use a box. Okay. F, looks like 2 goes into all of them. Okay. This, please pay attention to this. If you fact out a 2, this is not a quadratic. We can only do glasses, factoring out by using grouping, if it is a quadratic. Okay, so here we can say no. No, because we have an x to the third. Okay, please get that. Do not try and spend time trying to get this to work. It's not a quadratic, it's a cubic. Alright, last 3. Okay, can we use the shortcut? No, we can't. Okay, we'd want to do the greatest common factor first, and then done. Okay, so we'd take out an x, and we'd just get x plus 4. It's no longer a quadratic, so we can't do glasses. Alright, can we do it here? Yes. After the greatest common factor is equal to 1. So we'd factor out that negative. Last one, okay, the greatest common factor here is a -3. Okay, so it wouldn't get it to a equals 1 when we're done. So here we'd say no. We'd have to use the box. Okay? Alright, so keep that in mind. That might help a little bit when you do your homework. Okay? Last thing is word problems. Nice thing is all we're doing is factoring. So nothing's really new. Okay? It says a square has an area of x squared plus 10x plus 25. Write down an expression in terms of x that for the possible length and width of a square. Okay? So we would do glasses. It's in standard form. There's no greatest common factor. So we just need to figure out what multiplies to 25x squared and adds to 10x. All right, so I think if you thought about it for a little bit, we'd say 5 and 5. Can we use the shortcut? Yeah, because a is 1. This literally is a square. If you look at it, like this would be like the length, this would be the width. They're the exact same factors. Okay, so there you go. Here's one that's not square, but it's the same sort of thing. A is 1, so we could use the shortcut. We just need to figure out what multiplies to 20 and adds to -9. Okay, if they have to add to -9, that means they're both, and this is positive, they both have to be negative, right? Because a negative and a negative will give you a positive. Only other way to get to 20 is if they're both positives. But there's no way to get two positive numbers that can give you a -9. Okay, so let's see what could work. Maybe -4, -5. And we can use the shortcut. So we've got x minus 4, x minus 5. Again, that could be like your length, that could be your width. Okay, if it had it like this, maybe like on a test, then you would just write like x minus 4, and then the width could be like x minus 5. Okay, alright, so that's it. If you have questions, please let me know. If you look at the homework, it's going to be kind of like example 4 here. You're going to have different problems. Not all of them can you use the shortcut. If you can't use a shortcut, then you're going to need to use the box. Okay. Also, keep in mind with like, if it's a binomial, check and see if there's a greatest common factor first. Sometimes you might be able to take out the greatest common factor, but it's not a quadratic, it's a cubic or something more than that. If that's the case, then you're done. Okay, there's nothing you can do, at least in this class. Okay? All right, we'll see you later.